Hey, so in this video, I want to show you how you can recover your funds that are on Fluidkey without using the Fluidkey interface. It's a question we're getting asked a lot. Is there a way to recover funds if Fluidkey were to disappear? And the short answer is yes. Fluidkey is fully self-custodial, so what that means is that you can always recover your funds as long as you have your private keys. So in this video, I'll show you how to do this, but before that, one disclaimer. I don't advise doing this unless you really have a serious issue with your account and you really need to access your funds. The reason for that is once you use this recovery method, you're likely not going to be able to use all of the functionalities anymore that are within the Fluidkey UI. So this is really a recovery method that you can maybe use with a test account to make sure this works as I'm showing you here, but I wouldn't advise doing this with a live account unless it's really necessary and this is kind of the last resort to get access to your funds. So with that said, let me tell you a little bit how Fluidkey is structured. So Fluidkey basically is built on fully open source crypto. We have this Fluidkey self-account kit here that you can access on GitHub. It's all linked on our homepage as well. And so this is basically all of the core cryptography that powers Fluidkey and your different stealth addresses. I'm not going to go into the details of how exactly this folder is structured, but here, if you're interested in the tech behind Fluidkey, you can check that out for yourself. On top of this cryptography and this open source kit, there has been an interface that has been built that is hosted at recovery.fluidkey.com, but you can also find the GitHub repo. It's also fully open source here. This was built by Nami, so this was built by someone independent from the Fluidkey core team. And I think it's also a great way to show that all of the core cryptography that Fluidkey is built on can be used by others and can be used to basically access all of the Fluidkey addresses that you have in your account. So what I'll do today is show you how to use this recovery interface and basically walk you through a recovery case. To do that, I created a demo account just here. I just dropped some ETH also into this account, so we'll try to basically recover this ETH from this account without using the Fluidkey UI and basically going through the recovery interface you're seeing here. So first off, in order to use this recovery interface, we need to make sure we have our private keys backed up. In this demo, I'm using a Privy account, so I'm using an account that I basically signed up with via email. But the same method also works if you use an account that was generated from an existing wallet or if you're using private keys that were generated on your phone through the app. The way it works is relatively simple. You first need to go to this backup section here, and you will be able to export the private keys from here. So this works both on the if your keys are on the app or if your keys are Privy keys, you can basically export private keys here. If you generated your account with an existing wallet, then you don't have to even do this step. You can basically just connect directly with your existing wallet with the address you used to create your account directly here in this interface. But in this case, I'm going to export the private key over here. Again, this is a demo account, so it's fine for me to export and basically show you the private keys. But in reality, of course, please don't share these private keys with anybody. Anybody who has access to these private keys will basically be able to access your entire Fluidkey account and move money out. So this is very sensitive and is only here as a demo. In this case, I can show this to you. So I will copy the keys over here. And then what I will do is that I will import them into an existing wallet. This can be any wallet, can be MetaMask, Base, Rabby, anything you want. In my case, I'm going to use Rabby. Okay, so I'll import this wallet, import from private key, paste the private key, confirm, and I will call this wallet recovery demo. Great. So now we have the wallet here in Rabby, and that's the only thing we need to do from the interface, from the Fluidkey interface, to then use this recovery page that you can see here. So now very simple. I will connect the imported wallet from Rabby directly to this interface. You can see here that this is the recovery wallet. And then in the first step here, I need to regenerate the stealth keys. So the stealth keys are basically generated from a signature of your private keys. And in some cases, you may have set a pin in Fluidkey. So if you have set a pin in Fluidkey, you also need to make sure that the pin that you're setting here aligns with what you have set in Fluidkey. If you're using the app through the iOS or Android native app, then the pin is basically just 4 times 0, and you don't have to change anything here. But in my case, I actually did add a pin of 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm changing that here. And then I'm generating the stealth keys by just pressing this button. Now Rabby is asking me to sign this message. Here we go. Perfect. So now the keys are generated, and now we need to also select which profile we're using. So in Fluidkey, you can automatically earn yield. And so depending on the yield profile you're using, the addresses generated will basically be formed differently. You can basically just select here which profile you're using. Just to show you where you can see this in Fluidkey as well, if you go to the amount earned over here, you can basically see the profile that is currently selected. So currently, for me, what's selected here is the core profile. So if I go back here, I will just select the core profile. I also just created this account. So this is an account that was created after August 20th. So I'm just going to select here core v1.2. And the second thing I want to do is actually open advanced settings here. And I received some ETH on this account, so I have ETH already on this account, and I want to make sure that I find this ETH now through the recovery assistant. The way I can do this is by adding an RPC URL here. So one way to find an RPC provider is to go to chainlist.org, find the network. So right now my ETH is on base, so I'll find an RPC link here. So let's go with Tenderly, for example, over here. I will copy this here, go back to this interface, and add the RPC URL just over here. Okay. Next, if I wanted to check for balances of a specific token, so if I want to check for USDC balances or any other specific token balances, I could also add the address of the token here, but in my case I'm just checking for ETH, so I don't have to do this here. I can just keep all of the other settings as they are. Another thing to note is that if you have generated lots of different addresses with your account, you might need to check more than the 100 first addresses. So by default, this tool is going to check the 100 first addresses generated for your account, but you can change this very easily here by adding a higher number. So you can basically also find a higher amount. Okay, so for now we keep this at 100. We just have this RPC URL here, and we've selected the auto earn profile that matches my account. Now let me recover the self accounts. This might take a few seconds because we're basically checking on chain for every address if there's any ETH balances, and so the more addresses you check, the longer it takes. So for 100 addresses, it might take between 10 and 20 seconds roughly. Great, here we are, and as you can see, you can basically see all of the safe addresses here. So the safe addresses are actually your addresses that are generated in the Fluidkey interface over here. So if I say refresh one-time address over here, you can see 0x26A28C1A. Let me try and find it here. Here we go. This address is, for example, the address over here. Now, the other thing that I can see is that I'm actually seeing the ETH that was sent to my account. So we successfully identified the ETH that was sent to my account over here, and now we can basically recover it without using the Fluidkey interface. Great, so now let me also show you how this recovery works for an ERC20 token, so not the native ETH, but so for example, I have some DAI now on this account. I can simply go back to the recovery interface, again, select the correct profile, go to advanced settings, make sure I add the token address here. So I need to check on Basecamp the token address for DAI. Here we go. We'll add this here. And then I also need to make sure I add the RPC. Great. So now that we have those values in, let me recover accounts again. Here we go. And here we can already see also the DAI that I received to my account just now. Great. So now I will show you how to basically recover this DAI. So the first thing we need to do is to check if the safe that holds this DAI already is deployed. So let's go again to the Basecamp link, look for this address, and what we can see here is that there's no contract. So that means this safe isn't deployed yet. We can do that straight here from the interface. Make sure you're connected on the right network. So in this case, it's Base, and make sure you already are connected with an address that has some ETH to basically pay for the deployment. And then we can just deploy the safe directly from here. So if we go back to this page and refresh, we can see that the contract is already here. Perfect. Okay, so now that the contract is deployed, we can go to the safe interface to actually interact with this address in the smart contract and recover the funds. So I can press the safe interface button here. This is going to open Eternal Safe, which is a fixed version of the safe interface to make sure this works also longer term. Here again, we need to add the RPC provider URL, so same as before. Here we go, we have the RPC, and we can now go load safe. Here we can add the address of the safe address here. Great. And now we need to check for DAI. So we will again also add the DAI token here. So here we go. Let's add the DAI address here. Perfect. Add. And here we can see the balance already. Now, to move the balance from here, we need to connect to this Eternal Safe with the address of this signer key over here. So we will copy the signer key over here, go to Rabby, add another account, import private key, import the signer key that we just copied. We will call this self-address DAI. Here we go. Then we can go back to Eternal Safe, connect with Rabby. So now we can send out the DAI. I will send this to one of my existing addresses. Actually, let's just send it to the addresses I'm connected with so you can see and confirm that this is sent correctly. So here we do max. And we'll also execute it right away. Make sure again that when you execute, you have some ETH in the address you're using to actually make the transaction go through. Here we go. Sign, confirm, and the transaction is processing. Let's have a look. So we can check this on Basecamp. Here we go. The transaction is executed, and if we check in Rabby, we'll see that these funds have been added now here as well. And so we have the DAI here, and we've recovered it. So this is it. There are definitely quite a few steps. So again, this is just a way to make sure that you can always recover funds if, Fluidkey were to be inaccessible. As I mentioned at the beginning, I recommend not using this. Maybe use this with, a test account if you want to play around with it, but I recommend not using this with your main account unless it's really necessary to make sure you can also still use the Fluidkey UI without any issues. All right, thank you very much. Bye.